So we're taking a look at Robert here from a side view as he goes through his delivery. We get to the point where he's at the top of the leg lift, moving forward, starting to separate his hands. You can see a nice pressured load coming down through that back foot, a little collapse or bend on that back knee as part of the loading process. We're definitely seeing some good hip lead, where the lower portion of his body, his hips, his lead foot and lead leg, lead the process out, with that lead shoulder and upper body falling behind, creating more of that wave-like action that we're going to be looking for in the delivery once that front foot lands on the ground. As we continue through the delivery, we see a good equal and opposite path with the hands. We see him coming into a heel first landing here, working his way down, accommodating the slope of the mound, maintaining some flex in that back leg as he comes into front foot landing. We're going to take a quick look here at his split angle. That's going to give us an idea about where he's at in terms of his stride length. So we'll take an angle measurement, start at the back knee, work our way to the front knee, and we can see we have a relatively significant split angle there of 137 degrees. That's indicative of a pretty long stride at this point, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We want to maximize the stride to the extent that we can be at a good position when that front foot is planted on the ground. Looking up from there, we're going to take a look at where his upper body is at relative to his hips. We can see that he's got some good rotation happening here in that back hip. The lead knee and lead foot are opened up forward to the target, but it appears that his shoulders are still closed at this point, as we can see the Nike logo facing toward us on the side view. That's definitely a good sign. We take a look at his spine angle. So we're going to go from about mid-neck down toward about mid-hips, kind of toward the belt buckle, and we can see that he's got some reverse tilt here happening in his upper body, so the upper body is slightly behind. Lead shoulder is over the lead hip, which is good. Lead shoulder is also higher than the throwing shoulder. Another indicator that his upper body weight is in pretty good position at this point. So, so far looking pretty good. We can take a look and see that he's got his throwing elbow and the lead elbow up above the shoulders. See that his throwing hand is slightly higher than the throwing elbow, but at this point in the delivery, ideally we'd like to see that maybe that hand in relation to that elbow is a little bit higher. That's going to help to minimize the stress that's placed on his elbow and his shoulder during the rotation and external arm rotation of the portion of the delivery. And let's see what begins to happen in the pathway that he takes with his upper body and his arm and elbow as he rotates to throw here. So staying particularly high at this point with the elbow, still kind of maintaining that position where it's up elevated above the shoulders, which is going to begin to create a little displacement of his head and his upper body. So as you see, he's continuing to throw. We do see some collapse into that lead leg, so his body, his torso is working down into the lead leg, which in one respect is good. Will create some more additional force, vertical force down through that lead foot, but also is drawing his head and his upper body and his arm on a steeper downward plane than that which matches up with the target. So that's going to have some impact on his ability to be able to command the ball and keep from either missing up elevated to the arm side or potentially carrying that release through a steeper angle and driving the ball down into the ground. We also see from this side view that the glove side has disappeared, so it's no longer out here ahead of his torso or his upper body, which is an indicator that that glove side is starting to retract or draw back, which may cause those shoulders to want to over-rotate, where he would be pulling away from the target as he comes through release. We've got some good external rotation with this forearm there. It looks to be in good position as it externally rotates. and some continued head movement and some continued collapse where he's getting lower, upper body is getting deeper into that lead leg. Not unusual with an extended stride or a long stride like that, but definitely can be problematic in that instead of funneling or channeling or delivering that energy toward the target, it's all collapsing down toward the ground and also drawing that throwing arm arc or path off plane with the target line that we're shooting for. As he comes through, finishing definitely low, which conventional wisdom says is a good thing, but not necessarily if the plane or the path of the body is too steep going from front foot landing through release. In that, again, it's drawing that energy on a plane that's different from that which is leading to the target, where we want all that energy to be funneling. Now, as he comes through, it looks like he's got, nice deceleration range. That arm clears all the way through, shoulders clearing all the way through. See his hands show up here back behind his body. Some good complete hip rotation. The back leg is circling around and finishing up with his body facing off on that same plane of rotation, ended up over toward the third base side that his arms and his shoulders were operating on. So from a finish or deceleration standpoint, looks pretty good. But quickly zipping back through, I'd say big things are, it looks solid into when your front foot lands. Elbows are a little bit high at this point. That may be contributing to the downward plane or the steepness of that downward plane with your body as you come through the release, rather than funneling or channeling everything more on a plane toward the target. So we'd like to work on more of a back to front pathway, carrying your hips, your upper body, and your weight more on a linear path toward the target, past the front leg, rather than down into the front leg as you come through release. That will likely contribute to better command and more velocity. So what I would suggest is doing a little bit of work on determining whether or not that stride may be just a bit long, maybe a little too long, that inhibiting your ability to travel from back to front here, and really emphasize that back to front travel through some of our drill work. Rolling torque would be a good example of that, or you can emphasize the stride length together with the big weight shift coming back forward in our modified jump backs. So those are a couple of the drills that I'd put extra emphasis on as you continue to work in our training classes.